IELTS listening maps. This task can feel overwhelming, but in this video, you'll learn a strategy that will make it easier. You also learn one tip so many of my students told me completely transformed the way they approach this task. Grab a pen and paper, it's Sasia here. Let's get started! To start, let's look at the first map question by question as you'll be learning what you should do. And then you can check how these strategies work on the second map. What should you do before the recording begins? Well, part of why maps are so challenging is that there are a lot of elements and you may not know what to pay your attention to. First of all, study the map itself. Let's do that together. We have a map of Croft Valley Park. There are two entrances, north and south. Two paths take you around the park with the lake in the center. See the cardinal directions? North, south, east, west. They can be used to describe the location of different objects. For example, the old museum is above the lake or to the north of the lake. The adventure playground is to the north of the park, and glass houses are in the southeastern corner. Then, find the starting point, usually the entrance, which is usually located at the bottom of the map. After that, if you still have time, start reading the questions. You may be wondering why we leave the questions until the last moment. And there is a very good reason for it, and knowing this can really help you with this task. In IELTS listening, all the questions come in order. This means you hear about number 11, cafe, first, then 12, toilets, 13, formal gardens, and so on. Knowing this is so valuable because you don't need to look all over the map wondering what you should be looking at or what you're going to hear about next. You know exactly what will happen. You start at the entrance at the bottom of the map and look for the answer to the first question, then the second question, and so on. Please note, this only works for the current version of IELTS maps that's been used for the last few years, not the old maps. They're easy to tell apart. In the recent tasks, questions are next to the map, and your options letters are on the map. In the old version, which you may still see on YouTube but not really in real exams, question numbers are on the map. So we're not talking about old tasks. And two more things. Cross out used options to clearly see what's left. And remember that you should write letters as answers on your answer sheet, not words. Okay, now let's try the first map. Ready? Now listen to the recording and find the answer to question number 11.
As chair of the Town Council Subcommittee on Park Facilities, I'd like to bring you up to date on some of the changes that have been made recently to the Croft Valley Park. So if you could just take a look at the map I handed out, let's begin with a general overview. So, the basic arrangement of the park hasn't changed. It still has two gates, north and south, and a lake in the middle. The cafe continues to serve an assortment of drinks and snacks, and is still in the same place, looking out over the lake and next to the old museum.
Here is what you've heard. First of all, there was a little bit of an introduction, and you might have noticed that there was no starting point in this task, just a general overview of the map. And then we've had this. The cafe is looking out over the lake and next to the old museum. So the answer is clear, Cafe D. Now listen to the recording and find the answer to question number 12, toilets.
We're hoping to change the location of the toilets and bring them nearer to the centre of the park, as they're a bit out of the way at present, near the adventure playground, in the corner of your map.
This one was a little bit confusing because first we've heard that they're planning to bring them nearer to the center of the park. And you would be forgiven thinking about the center of the park is somewhere here. But then we're here, near the adventure playground. So that's here. And we have two options, B or C. And they continue in the corner of the map. And of course, the corner is 12, C. Question number 13, formal gardens.
The formal gardens have been replanted and should be at their best in a month or two. They used to be behind the old museum, but we've now used the space near the south gate, between the park boundary and the path that goes past the lake towards the old museum.
Have you spotted a classic trap used in listening maps? First, we've heard that the formal gardens used to be behind the old museum. This means they're no longer there. And then we hear that they are actually near the south gate, between the park boundary, so that's the boundary, and the path that goes past the lake towards the old museum, so that's the path. And that's the answer. 13G. Now answer question number 14.
We have a new outdoor gym for adults and children, which is already proving very popular. It's by the glass houses, just to the right of the path from the south gate. You have to look for it as it's a bit hidden in the trees.
The outdoor gym is by the glass houses. And we actually have two options, F or H. Which one? Just to the right of the path from the south gate. So I would say it's like that. But actually, maybe it's still F. So there is an extra clarification. You have to look for it as it's a bit hidden in the trees. And the trees are, of course, here. And the answer is H. 14H. Now, question number 15.
One very successful introduction has been our skateboard ramp. It's in constant use during the evenings and holidays. It's near the old museum, at the end of a little path that leads off from the main path between the lake and the museum.
The skateboard ramp is near the old museum, but luckily we're crossing out used options, so we know that option D is not available. So which one? It's at the end of a little path. Well, that's the only little path that leads off from the main path between the lake and the museum. The lake and the museum. 15A. And now the last question.
We've also introduced a new area for wildflowers to attract bees and butterflies. It's on a bend in the path that goes round the east side of the lake, just south of the adventure playground.
This description was a bit unusual. Let's have a look. So wildflowers are on the bend in the path. What is a bend? A bend is where a path turns or curves a lot. So this is a bend that goes round the east side of the lake. Remember the cardinal points? So east of the lake is here. Just south of the adventure playground. That's the playground. And that's south. So it's down there. Everything points to option E. 16E. Now that we've solved this task together, how easy was it to understand the recording? Maybe some bits weren't clear for you, but then when you saw the transcript, you could understand everything. This means you need to listen to English more. And one way is to listen to audiobooks. If you're not yet on Audible, you can get any book for free as part of a free trial. I'll leave a link to claim your book in the description. And if you then decide that you don't want to continue with the paid subscription, cancel it within 1 month and you can still keep the first book. Now, Try the second task on your own and then I'll show you the answers. You have 15 seconds to read the task before the recording begins. Ready?
OK, now I'll briefly help you to orientate yourselves around the site. As you can see, we're in the reception area, which we try to make attractive and welcoming to visitors. There's a corridor running left from here, and if you go along that, the door facing you at the end is the entrance to the coffee room. This looks out onto the main road on one side and some trees on the other, and that'll be where you meet each morning. The factory is the very big room on the far side of the site. Next to it is the warehouse, which can be accessed by lorries going up the road to the turning area at the end. You can get to the warehouse by crossing to the far side of the courtyard, and then the door is on your right. Somewhere you'll be keen to find is the staff canteen. This is right next to reception. I can confidently say that the food's very good, but the view isn't. The windows on one side look onto a corridor and courtyard, which aren't very attractive at all, and on the other onto the access road, which isn't much better. You'll be using the meeting room quite often, and you'll find it by walking along the corridor to the left of the courtyard and continuing along it to the end. The meeting room is the last one on the right, and I'm afraid there's no natural daylight in the room. Then you'll need to know where some of the offices are. The Human Resources Department is at the front of this building, so you head to the left along the corridor from reception, and it's the second room you come to. It looks out onto the main road. And finally, the boardroom, where you'll be meeting sometimes. That has quite a pleasant view, as it looks out onto the trees. Go along the corridor past the courtyard, right to the end. The boardroom is on the left, next to the factory. OK, now, are there any questions before we move?
Okay, let's have a look at the answers. The first question was about a coffee room, but first of all, our starting point. We begin in the reception area, so here is the reception. And then there is a corridor running left. And if you go along, the door facing you at the end, so that's the door, is the entrance to the coffee room. So that's our coffee room. But if you're not yet sure what their answer is, there are some further clarifications. This looks out onto the main road on one side, that's the main road, and some trees on the other. Okay, here it is, 15H. Next, we're looking for a warehouse, and we can hear that the factory is a very big room at the end, so that's the factory. And next to it is the warehouse, so it's somewhere here, next to the factory, which can be accessed by lorries going up the road to the turning area at the end. So lorries do need a road, and that's the road, and that's the turning point. And our warehouse is between the factory and the road, so that's the warehouse. But again, we have some extra information. We can get to the warehouse by crossing to the far side of the courtyard. That's the courtyard. So that's the far side of it. And then the door is on your right. 16C. Next, we're looking for a staff canteen, and it's right next to the reception. That's the reception, so it's probably this one or this one, J or G. And the view isn't very good, because windows on one side look onto a corridor and courtyard, so that's the courtyard. And I would say it's still not very clear which one it is. Probably these are the windows, but anyways, let's listen further. On the other side, the windows look onto the access road. So that's the answer. 17G. The meeting room is next, and you'll find it by walking along the corridor to the left of the courtyard. So that's the corridor. Continuing along it to the end, so we're here, and then the meeting room is the last one on the right, so this one. I'm afraid there is no natural daylight in the room, no windows at all. 18B. What about the human resources? Apparently, it's at the front of the building, so that's the front of the building. So you head to the left along the corridor from reception, and it's the second room you come to. So first, second, this one. And it looks out onto the main road. Yes, it does. 19I. Finally, number 20, the boardroom. Apparently, the boardroom has a pleasant view because it looks out to the trees. And these are the trees. If you go along the corridor past the courtyard, right to the end, or have you noticed this phrase, right to the end? It doesn't mean you need to turn right. Right to the end means until the very end. And the boardroom is actually on the left. Next to the factory to the left. This one, 20A. Okay, how many questions could you answer? Tell me in the comments. And if you fancy more practice, then I suggest solving these two maps next. And if you'd like to get your free book on Audible, the link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam.